It's an American pastime. A game of skill, patience, and heart. Played by the greatest of men.
Hey guys, does this shadow make me look like I have a huge...
You're late, Polanco.
Today's game is between the Bulldogs and the hometown D-bags.
D-bags.
What did I say?
You said D-bags. Nobody wants to stretch for this game?
So you're gonna be up there like 10 times?
Yeah.
Sorry, wait.
It's all right. I forgot you were on the team.
Okay.
All right, guys, listen up. I gotta sit someone out who doesn't want to play today. This isn't the team we beat this season. This is a whole bunch of new guys. It's gonna be like the 27 Yankees versus the Lollipop Guild.
Well, this is gonna get ugly.
A little sluggish out there today.
Come on. Is that a joke?
I could have hit that.
19, you got! Cool.
Ooh.
Get it on, get it on.
What is wrong with these guys?
Draft is over. He didn't get picked.
You didn't get drafted? He's the best player I've ever seen.
You thought you get my mind off baseball by talking to me about baseball at a baseball game?
It isn't working?
This game's meaningless.
Can't leave now. I care about this game.
Listen up. We're winning the game.
You're out.
Not a great start.
Does he do this at home?
That's my boy.
You're right, you're right. You're right. That's what it is, though.
No.
Awesome.
Hello.
Welcome to AOL Bill, Joe.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Pretty exciting for you because tomorrow, his directorial and writing, not his acting debut though, is tomorrow on Draft. How are you feeling? Nervous, scared, excited? It's a big day tomorrow.
I feel great. I threw out a first pitch at a Dodger game last Friday. That was the most nervous I've been, I think, in my life. What?
Did you throw a strike?
You know, do you think I would mention it if I screwed it up? No, it went awesome.
So just to talk a little about this film, it's based on a true story. Your brother, who was a good baseball player, great baseball player, but undrafted. And my impression when I watched the film was you were really angry about it. And so you're like, I'm going to make a film about how unjust this was that my brother wasn't drafted. But that's not actually how this movie came about, is it?
No, you know.
Or was it?
No, I mean, of course, we were really disappointed. You know, I had watched my brother for 15 years dedicate his entire life to this game. And there was that kind of sense of like, why did he do this? Like, why, you know, what was the point of it all? And I was living in LA, and my dad and my brother were still here in New York. And I came home, and my dad was like, Joe, I got to tell you about this crazy game that your brother played in. My dad always, you know, has these ideas for movies, right? And they're always terrible. And they're always like, you know, like, oh, you know, the father dies, and the kids are devastated, and he was a martyr. And I was like, okay, Dad, whatever. But this time, he was like, I think this would make a really great little movie. And he kind of showed it to me, and he was telling me the story and telling me about the guys that played it. And I was like, okay, this is actually pretty interesting. And he's like, and someone actually filmed on their cell phone the final moment of this game. And he showed it to me, and when I saw that, I said, man, that is a great way to end a movie. And that was the impetus. That's how it came about.
So is it true in that your brother had just found out he wasn't drafted, and then he's sort of playing in this intramural game and having to deal with that at the same time? Is that true?
And he got really close. You know, he got his draft card from the San Diego Padres, and that's kind of the way it works. Is like you have to be invited to get drafted before you can get drafted. So he made it to the final step before that, and it just didn't happen for him, whatever reason. And then it was just kind of like he was still committed to playing this really stupid intramural game that doesn't matter with all of his college teammates, but he was just like, whatever, we'll play it. And they were kind of all pretty disappointed, and they were just having this existential crisis that I was kind of saying, like, we just give everything to this game that gives us nothing back, and what's the point of it? And so because it was like this transitional moment for them, the game took on this like other importance, and it became like kind of the most important game they ever played in.
Now tell me, you have a fantastic cast. I know Chase Crawford was also very interesting. He's in the movie, but he was very instrumental in it being made as well. So he was one of the first people that read the script?
Yeah, Chase and I have been friends, I think, for about 8 years. And after he moved out of New York, he came and stayed at my house in L.A. And he was the first person.
Any gossip about that? That's how we make news here.
Oh, no. We were buddies. You know, he was in Gossip Girl, and so he was living in New York. And so whenever I came back to New York, he let me stay in his place here. And so I returned the favor. I had a house in LA. I was like, come stay there. So while he was transitioning, getting his place there, he would just stay with me for a little while. And in that time, it's right around when I wrote this script. And I was like, hey, you should really read this. I think you would like it. Or maybe you won't, but let me know what you think of it. And he just fell in love with it. He just thought it was awesome. And so, yeah, he wanted to come on and help get it made in any way he could. And, you know, he attached himself right away. And then, you know, we were able to find the money. It was a really amazing experience.
What is it like trying to bring together, like you have, you know, James Belushi's in this movie. How are you able to, as an indie filmmaker, bring together like such an incredible cast? Like, does that follow from Chase, or are you literally knocking on doors? How are you getting people attached to it?
Well, you know, it's a mix of things. Well, first of all, you have to have a script that people want to read, and that agents like, and that actors like. And we're fortunate that, you know, we had that script. People just really responded to it. And so Chase was the only person I actually knew. I actually knew Toby Hemingway a little bit as well, but I really didn't know anyone else who was eventually cast in the movie. But you know, Chase had worked with a ton of people, and so Chase had worked with Aaron Tveit. And when we were kind of floating his name around, Chase was like, "Oh, he's a great guy, great actor," and so you know, we reached out to Aaron, and he reached out to Aaron, and Aaron read it right away and was like, "I'm all about this." And then Tyler Hoechlin was another guy who, you know, Chase had known a little bit, but you know, we knew he was a really good ball player, and we were at the same agency, and so we just kind of found a way to be able to get him the script as well. And he, again, like, just the people who were in the movie are people who read this script and were just like, I'm going to do anything I can to be in this movie and to make this great. And I think it really shows when you watch it, because you know, all these guys that are pictured here, they all get along so well. And there was a wonderful vibe on set. A lot of times you get 12 actors together, a lot of type A personalities, and things can go south immediately. But that didn't happen. And, you know, I'm still having like barbecues at my house with all these guys.
Nice.
Like, really, everyone's still really close. So
Later, I'm going to ask you how Chase was as a roommate, by the way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We'll come back to that after we're done with the movie. But and now with Aaron, he was actually playing your brother. What was it like directing someone to be your brother? Did you have him? I don't know. Is he cooler than your actual brother? Did you make him less cool? Like, what is that like?
Can't
Did your
say that.
brother give input?
Yeah, my brother was like, make sure he wears his socks up, because that's what my brother did when he played the game. So that was the most important thing to him, you know. But no, you know, it just came together really well. Because I think Aaron was really touched by the story and was really moved by that father-son dynamic, which plays so importantly in the movie. And so once, like, Aaron got a hold of that, the rest kind of followed really easily. And, you know, we're so close with our dad. And so I think also when my brother saw that, he was good to go with it. He wanted to always make sure he could play some baseball, which he could.
Yes. I had this, you know, sort of takeaway from the movie, or theme, if you will, that talent doesn't always win out. I mean, I think that's, so I wondered, I mean, you think you saw that echoed in your brother not being drafted. I'm wondering, is that like a theme for you where it's a battle, like whether, you know, even if you're really good at something, that may not necessarily mean you get the recognition or you get the success, and how big a theme that was for you as you made this movie?
Yeah, well, my brother has a little boy now, and I keep trying to put golf clubs in his hands, because that's much more of a meritocracy. You know, they're open championships.
Do fencing as well, just points.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go. I'll push fencing, I'll push tennis. You know, these are sports where an individual can they don't need someone else subjectively to say, hey, I want you because of, like, you know, I love Moneyball. It's a great movie. You know, when you see the scouts kind of sitting around going, oh no, his girlfriend's ugly, he has no confidence.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's a ridiculous way of like measuring these
That
people.
could have been your brother. That could have been the decision.
That's the thing, like, because, you know, the stats are important. They actually tell you what someone can do during a game. And so, yeah, there's a little bit of that. And, you know, I have a line in the movie where I say, nobody gets what they deserve, good or bad. And is that totally true? No. But I do think there's an element of that, you know, kind of, and it works, I think, in the acting world, too, where, you know, it's a very personal, kind of strange job interview where you kind of go in and they're like, oh, you're like too short, or you're too ugly, or you're too good looking, or you're, you know, there are all these other factors, or like, oh, that movie didn't do well, and so it's, you don't always see, you know, a direct A to B like talent to success, and I think that yeah, that's definitely a kind of a theme throughout this movie of, okay, that's the reality, but what do you do with that? You know, does that make you pout, and do you give up, and do you say, oh, it's just not fair, or do you say, am I doing this just because one day I'll be successful at it, or am I doing it because I genuinely love it, and I genuinely want to be doing this regardless of what happens? And I think sometimes those failures make you realize how much you love something, and I think that plays itself out in this movie, that it's not just about, like, you know, the accolades or, you know, the success, but it's about just doing it because you have a passion for it and because you love it.
Talk to me a little bit about, so this movie is filmed over one game.
Yeah.
We were talking a little about some of the challenges of making indie movies with limited budgets, and how were you able to pull, you know, this large ensemble cast together, and what were some of the challenges you faced trying to just make this movie?
Oh, man, I could go on.
2 minutes.
Yeah, okay, oh boy, okay. Well, scheduling. Scheduling was a nightmare because you had all these actors, and it's kind of like The Office where everybody's in every scene. And so, but the issue was, oh, Aaron Tveit was signed on to do this other movie, so he could only be there for the first 12 days. Tyler Hoechlin was doing Teen Wolf, so he had a bunch of scheduling conflicts with MTV. Billy Gardell, he's the umpire, he's on Mike and Molly, he could only work on Thursdays. We had Jim for 4 days. So you're trying to find a way to fit this jigsaw puzzle together of how you're going to shoot these scenes, and some of these scenes are shot over 4 or 5 days. So then you have the problem with the extras. You know, you have extras watching the game. Well, you don't really have the money to have extras there every day because they're very expensive. You get 1 day with them. And I actually shot some of the scenes with the extras here in New York. My parents have a dance studio upstate, and my mom just like put up a flyer and told the students, hey, anyone want to be in a movie? And we got 100 people to come out, and I found a fence here in New York that looked like the one in LA, and we just shot like a guerrilla filmmaking, just like me, the camera, and like a boom that's attached to the camera. But it was super funny because like all like the girls at the dance studio were like taking selfies and like going on the street, like set life, you know. So it was like super funny. I was like, oh yeah, it's real glamorous. But anyway, those kinds of issues, you know, happen all the time where you just like, you've got to find a way to make it work. And that's one of the fun things about movie making. It's like part of the rush is being like, here are the obstacles that are put in your way. How do you overcome them? And
we talked a little bit about like even just scenes that you weren't able to shoot or were able to shoot.
Yeah.
Maybe talk to, you shared a really interesting story about even just there's a scene in the movie, I'm not giving away too much with a spoiler, a car window is broken.
Yeah.
And even just that, like, you know, you think, oh, okay, a car window break-in, it's really easy. But that was even just a challenge to get that scene done.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, it was done on the final day where we just had like 3 cameras going out trying to, you know, do 70-something setups in a day, which is absurd. And, you know, I got kind of to the editing room and I was like, I never even saw that footage. How did that gag work? You know, did we get that, you know, windshield shattering? And my producers were just kind of like, yeah, no, it didn't really work that well, so we'll just have to do that, like, mock-up that we made for you on the computer. I'm like, that looked like a cartoon. Like, we can't possibly use that. And so, you know, we had to find a way to, you know, okay, let's sacrifice this. Let's not, you know, spend too much money on, you know, whatever it happened to be. And then, you know, let's pull that and then find a way to, you know, go out one more day, you know, months after we finish shooting, go back to the park and rig it up and do it practically. And you just got to find a way to get it done. And, you know, it worked out so well. It's even in the trailer, you know, and it's kind of a great gag in the movie, and it gives it production value, and you've got to think about these little things all the time.
So I was wondering, how do people act and direct a movie? Because
Yeah.
you're the center fielder in this movie.
I am, yeah.
So what does that look like? Are you calling the scene? Are you berating yourself when you don't like what you did? Like, how does that work?
There are, my character has like one of the more emotional scenes in the movie, and so most of the time it's not that tough. I can figure it out. But for a scene like that where you've really got to like focus in and really lose yourself, those are the tough moments where you have to have a lot of confidence in your cinematographer. I think especially, and I really did. And so I kind of handed a little bit of the director reins over to him in just that moment where I was like, tell me what you think of what I'm doing. Because you really don't have time to like go back to Video Village, sit there and watch it, and then go and do it again. You just, you would be shooting for double the time. So you have to have some trust in them, and you have to let go for a moment. But the other challenge, I think, for this movie, and it's an ensemble, so I was thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to be in it, but I'm not the lead, I'm not the main character. I'll have plenty of time to sit back and just direct. Well, with all these scheduling conflicts, we needed to fill the dugout. And if we didn't have half the cast, guess who's suiting up and going into the background of this shot? It's me. So you'll see scenes in this movie where it's like a slow push in on a couple characters and I'm in the foreground, and then you'll see me just nonchalantly get up and I'm gonna go to the fence. And I was trying to get out of the shot so I could turn around and watch the performances and make sure. But it's a funny experience.
I love that
though.
story, by the way.
Yeah.
That's like the cool stuff that
It's just a funny experience though, because even if I'm having a scene with another person, I've been doing this for so long though, so I'll say my line and then they'll say their line back to me, and in my head I'll be making a note of oh, I think I want to have them try it a different way. Oh, I have another line. Blah, 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 blah. And so I'll just kind of, while I'm reacting, do double duty and kind of be thinking about directing while I'm acting. It's weird.
How did you choose the character that you ultimately decided to play? You probably
Yeah.
had a lot of options. You made yourself into a center fielder who kind of sucks
Yeah.
in baseball. And I wondered if you considered all the roles for yourself or how you put yourself in the movie.
I thought about playing a couple of roles. I thought about playing Ty, but I just don't have the body type for that. He's super huge. He's and so I just feel like that's not really gonna work. Even though I loved that role, and when I wrote it, it was very much I felt like my comedic voice. And so I was a little bit tempted to do that, but ultimately I went with Murray because he's just is so much fun. He was more slight built, but he's a psycho. Okay, he's a totally normal guy when you're just hanging out talking, but when he plays this game, he just gets so frustrated and he just goes berserk. He just sees red, he can't handle it, he doesn't know what's going on anymore, he's just screaming at everybody. And I thought it was just such a fun role to play, to just throw caution to the wind and just go absolutely nuts. And I think it was probably cathartic because so many things go wrong on a movie. It was oh, I get to scream at the top of my lungs in this next scene and get all of that out. Perfect. So I think maybe subconsciously I knew that was going to happen, and so I decided to play that role. But it was just such a fun role, and he also cares he cares deeply about Maz, the main character, and him not getting drafted. And so I have that in me, of course, because it's my brother, and so I also felt that connected me to him.
When you guys were growing up, just talk a little about your kind of upbringing. Yeah. So did you play baseball when you were young? Was your father pushing you all into baseball, and obviously your sister was in acting too, and you got into it early. What was the influence of your parents on where you guys have ended up?
Yeah, my parents never really pushed us kind of into anything. They saw what we loved, and then gave us every opportunity to succeed in that. I was a big brat where I didn't want to play piano, and I would be no, I don't want to go. I'd be okay, fine, whatever, screw that. And now today I go to them why didn't you force me to play piano? I really wish I could play that right now. And they're you were a brat. I'm yeah, but you're the parent. Deal with it. But anyway, the point is that my brother just took to baseball and loved it. He tried acting for a minute, but it just wasn't for him. But for me, it was always about acting. I played baseball. I tried out for Little League, and I made it. And then I had a choice to go and do a movie called Shadowlands with Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Winger. And so I was like, okay, do I play Little League or do I go to England and do that? And so I went to my first Little League practice and I got hit in the face with a baseball. I was like, I think my decision's been made. I'm gonna go be an actor. And that was probably the right decision. But I love baseball. Like, there are scenes in this, where like you kind of see the main character growing up, and he's like the father and son are practicing, and he's at shortstop throwing the ball over to first base. Well, what's not pictured is me, who was at first base catching those balls. So I was always like there for the practices and trying to help my brother out, and also just because I love the game, but I never really played in an organized way.
And you've acted for a long time. You've been in Jurassic Park and Social Network. Is amongst those things, directing, acting, writing, like where do you see yourself? You want to do all three, or do you see yourself heading more now in the writing, directing type of vein?
Yeah, I wanted to be a director, like, ever since I was 9 years old. Like, watching Steven Spielberg doing it and going like, I'm better than that guy. No, I'm just kidding. Just watching him and seeing like how truly amazing he was and how dedicated he was to what he was doing. Like we were in a hurricane during Jurassic Park, and instead of like him hunkering down and being scared like the rest of us were, he went out with a film crew and filmed the approaching hurricane. And I was just like, anyone who is so dedicated and loves something so much like that, I want to do that. I want to try that out. So, I went to USC Film School, and now I just feel like I just want to make movies. If I'm acting in them, if I'm directing them, if I'm writing them, I just want to be a part of that creative process, and whatever takes off, wherever it leads me, I'm ready to, jump at the challenge.
Awesome. We're going to get to audience questions in a second, but I want to ask you, what was Chase Crawford like as a roommate? Any weird habits? Did he sit on the couch in his underwear? Like any weird things you can share?
What can I share that he's not going to get mad at me telling?
Don't worry, no one's watching.
Oh, no one's here? Oh, no
one's here.
Oh, this is just you and me? Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
just you. Did he use your toothbrush?
No. Ooh, gross. No, look, Chase is a great guy. Every once in a while, he likes to dip.
Okay.
And so, like, he would have, like, his cup of dip or whatever. He'd be sitting on my couch just kind of going, like spitting into it. And I was like, Chase, I swear to you, if you miss that cup even one time or knock it over, I am going to boot you out of here. So, but no, Chase is honestly like the most humble, wonderful, like, person, and like it was so amazing to see him in this movie get to play. He just plays like a total like cocky jerk, and it's just so fun to see a guy like, because Chase is like the best looking guy on the planet, and he plays a guy in this who thinks he's the best looking.
Did you ever have a girl like come over or someone come over when he was there? And
every time we had a barbecue,
and lose them?
He's ruined at least 6 relationships. No, but every time we had like a barbecue at my house, we'd have somebody come over, and then they'd just be like all over Chase Crawford, like and he would just be standing there like trying to have a good time, be like, hey, yeah. And
you're like, Mom, stop.
there's girls hanging off of him. It's a very funny thing to watch.
Awesome. All right, let's get to some audience Q&A.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah, hi.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
So, what would you consider making a film about a particular baseball player that the casual baseball fans will know about?
Have I ever considered making a movie about another baseball player? Oh boy, I don't know about baseball, but I thought about like making a movie about Joe Frazier, like, so it's not baseball, but it's boxing, or I've thought about making movies about, I think, athletes in other sports. Baseball, though, what I really would like to do in baseball is maybe potentially turn Undrafted into like a TV show, because there's so many stories that are left out that my brother's told me about his college experience, and I think actually the funniest person in my brother's baseball career isn't even depicted in this movie. It's the coach of his college team. And so I think if I was going to do anything else in baseball, it would be try to make a show centered around these characters and a couple more when my brother was in college.
How's it going, Joe?
Hey, it's going good.
So you had multiple roles in this movie, and you kind of talked about it earlier with writer, director, actor, and producer. So how was it to juggle all that? What difficulties did you possibly have going on set and then behind the scenes in terms of juggling all 4 positions?
Writing was easy, because it was just me in a room alone, and it's just paper.
Chase Crawford.
Or it was, so that part was super simple. I actually wrote the last 35 pages in a day. That's how quickly it came together, which is unheard of, especially for me. I labor over every word, but this one just came so naturally. There's something about this movie that I knew it was going to happen. But when it came to acting and directing and producing, I would say they all presented challenges. For instance, it was after our second or third week of shooting, and I thought I could just take a weekend off and relax, but my mind just wouldn't stop. And I started thinking about what we shot, and the schedule had just come out, and I started looking at the schedule, and I was sitting there with my cinematographer. I was like, hey, Adrian, did we shoot the thing about blah, blah, blah? And he was like, no, we didn't shoot that. Okay, that's not in the schedule. Did we shoot blah, blah, blah? No, we didn't shoot that. Okay, that's not in the schedule. You and I have to right now go through the entire script and find out what we haven't shot and what's not in the schedule, because I think there's stuff missing. Turned out there were 5 pages missing.
Wow.
And we had to add an extra day of shooting. I gave back my director's fee. I didn't care about that. I said, we're gonna get another day of shooting because we were not leaving 5 pages out of the script. Because I don't even know how I'm going to be able to edit that when we get to the, into the post-production process. So things like that would happen, where you just had to put on the multiple hats and say, we got to just get this done. And then post-production was really tough. And it always is on indies, because you spend the bulk of your money when you're shooting, and then you get to the post-production process and there's very little left over. So there were a lot of late nights, a lot of weekends, and you're kind of, the sad truth of it is when you're the actor, writer, director, producer, it falls on you. No one's helping you at that point. They're done. They're on their next movie. They don't care anymore. It's just you. You're an island, and you got to figure out a way to get it done. And this movie was no exception.
All right, we got one more question.
Hi. Hey. All right. So this is gonna be kind of weird, but okay. If you couldn't,
you should see how weird these guys are. I have no problem.
Okay. So if you couldn't be a filmmaker, actor, writer, producer, and you could choose to be a professional sports player, what sport would it be? And it can't be baseball.
Okay, because that was my answer. I would be a golfer, like I said earlier. And I genuinely love golf, and I play it, and I just think it's kind of therapeutic, but also it makes you question everything about your life when you play badly. It's it's sitting right there. It's not moving. I can take as much time as I want to hit it. And I can't do it. Chase and I actually have a joke about that, where we'll go play golf and we'll just be like, I'm out of the industry. I quit. I can't do anything. I'm just gonna go back home. I'm gonna just start run a deli in upstate New York and just cry all day. So I have a love-hate relationship with golf.
Clearly. Just to wrap up, favorite baseball movie?
Favorite baseball
Besides
movie?
Undrafted.
Yeah, has got to be The Natural. It's just so perfect and dreamy, and really gets a grasp of the mythology of baseball, and yeah, it's really a perfect movie. I also love Bad News Bears, which this has a lot of similarities to.
It's a good one too, Bad News Bears. We want to thank you for coming on. Give it up for Joe.
Thank you, guys.
You got to check out Undrafted. You can get it on iTunes tomorrow. Where else can people check out the movie?
Yes. It's going to be in theaters tomorrow, 20 cities around the country. But if it's not near you, please buy it on iTunes, and it's on VOD as well.
All right, Joe Mazzello, AOL Bill, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.